The CET will have been finally nailed in March in Cape Verde when the Council of Finance Ministers endorsed the package. We came back home and took a scanning machine through the tariff book, scanning through about 5,900 tariff lines, indicated the immediate challenges. One, what was adopted in Cape Verde will seriously challenge Nigeria. Currently, 241 tariff lines enjoy some level of levy in addition to tariff. What CET was espousing was that all levies will go, all provision lists will go. Of course, this wasn't acceptable to man and to Nigeria. So we came back and we discovered also, by concluding the CET the way and manner it ended in Cape Verde, will have totally obliterated the sovereign power of our nation to direct investment to peculiar sectors. Because after the takeoff of CET, every country will have lost its power and authority to change tariff as either an incentive to invite foreign direct investment or to shift investment into peculiar sectors, like we mentioned, the automobile. So we came back and, together with government, laid the cards on the table, and the Nigerian government came up with a Nigerian position, largely influenced by MAN position, and we took this back to ECOWAS. So at the summit in July in Abuja, our president was magnanimous enough to raise the red flag that Nigeria was not comfortable with what was agreed in Cape Verde. And because of that position of Mr. President, the CET was stepped down. And agreement was that a special, what you call a extraordinary summit will take place in October to look at CET and EPA. That was what held last week. So between July and October, we've done internal work to restructure the outline of the CET approved in Cape Verde. What is going to happen now is that member countries have now been given the option to take about 3% of the entire tariff line off the CET. And that means you can look at 3% of the entire tariff line and put your sectors that are strategic to your development interests and apply whatever level of protection you want to adopt.
Okay.
I think that's a major gain from the Nigerian efforts.
Okay, so let's just let's take a quick break now, gentlemen, and we'll come back and continue this conversation. When we come back, I'm going to be asking you to talk more about how this will also affect the real sector, that's the small and medium-scale enterprise. Do they stand to gain when this CET actually goes operational? Well, you're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television. I'm being joined now by a stockbroker with the Nigerian Stock Exchange and, of course, the Managing Director of Enterprise Capital, Rotimi Fakayojo. Good morning, Rotimi, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Harriet.
Well, it seems investors are still not very impressed with the results that have been coming in because profit taking, which actually started on Friday, continued yesterday.
Well, I won't particularly agree with you because we saw a host of high capitalized stocks losing points yesterday, and it did really spread across. I think it's peculiar for a Monday. A Monday is usually very bearish to a great extent, and more so yesterday. So I think it's really not far-fetched, but that can only be tested if the same trend continues today on Wednesday. But the way the market is presently, we've not. But the market is pretty positive right now. It's doing 0.8%. That's
We seem to be having issues hearing you, Rotimi, but we do hope to connect with you again to give us more perspective on how trading went yesterday. While I'm still talking about the new ECOWAS Common External Tariff, which was recently agreed by the 15 nations of ECOWAS, and I have here with me in the studios the Acting Director General of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Rashid Adegbenro, and Obiora Madu, an international export consultant. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sticking around. Well, I did tell you that when we come back, we're going to be looking at how this common external tariff is actually going to affect the small and medium-scale enterprises. Everybody seems to be talking about the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria and forgetting the real sector, which is supposed to be like the core driver of the economy. So will they not be losers when eventually Nigeria signs the EPA, for instance?
Well, naturally, like you said at the opening shots, in any restructuring, there are pains, there will be losers, and there will be gainers. And that's why we have government as the arbiter. Our thinking is whatever challenges that we wrought at the beginning, government has the wherewithal to moderate such challenges. And this is where government intervention in the economy is very, very critical. When CET starts, of course, there will be reduction of tariff in certain sectors. And like you rightly pointed out, there will be a deluge of imports from third countries. The common external tariff is not against member countries in ECOWAS. It's against third countries from Europe, from the United States, from Latin America, and from Asia. But because of the linkage with the EPA negotiation process, if the market access in goods only is finally concluded, there will be gradual reduction of tariff in favor of European products.
Okay, so where does the protectionism policy actually come in? Because we know that the CET is designed to end re-exportation, which is the challenge that most African countries are actually experiencing. But there's someone argued that it also inhibits imports from countries outside of the customs union and thereby reducing consumers' choice. And, of course, as much as possible, support protectionism of industries based within the customs union. Will this happen? Or?
I think the reverse is the case.
The reverse is the case.
The reverse. If the CET comes into play, remember that we've drawn down the curtain on tariff walls, which implies that protection is now at the extreme low level.
Exactly.
There will be a deluge of imports from more advanced economies, particularly those enjoying economy of large-scale production.
All right.
So products will come here from Europe, from Asia, and from all parts of the world. But the concern here is the European Union play. The market access in goods under the EPA negotiation process will lower tariff in favor of EU. For example, if for a particular item the tariff is 20%, and we're having a market access liberalization schedule of 25 years. That means every 5 years there will be a scale down in certain percentages in favor of EU products under that tariff line. To the extent that by the end of 25 years, which ECOWAS is advancing its argument for the liberalization scheme, duty vis-a-vis import from EU will become zero for all products. So this has already packaged EU in a very favorable position. And the concern today is highly will any SME survive under such an arrangement. Even multinationals will be challenged, not just SMEs.
Yes,
multinationals will be challenged.
All
so
right.
the role of government in this is to ensure that trade facilitation programs which contribute to cost of doing business are properly managed. Talking of funds, if you take funds to import the product and you want to stay at the port for 3 months, it's a cost. And the SME will be worse off if such are not moderated. Same thing with port handling charges. These are all areas, and governance is also very, very critical. When products coming through the border unchecked against all presence of security forces, it's a governance challenge. In South Africa, for example, South Africa went into partnership with the EU on what we call a Trade Development Cooperation Agreement. It was a standalone deal between EU and South Africa. Notwithstanding that there are smaller states surrounding South Africa who are involved in the EPA process. But South Africa is able to police its borders to ensure that there will be no leakage into its economy or from its economy to the economies of neighboring states. But today, Nigeria, we cannot guarantee that. So this is an internal challenge. It's not a challenge for Ghana or Benin or Togo. It's an internal Nigerian challenge, and only Nigeria can address such